Welcome to the May I Share podcast. Today, host Duke and Tom sit down with Sam Koon from Prime Movers. Drawing from his own story, awakened at 55 to the reality that he hadn't been living out his God-given holy ambition, Sam unpacks what it looks like when a believer finally sees their job not just as a career, but as a mission field. It's a conversation that just might change the way you see your own calling. Learn how you can get involved in the show notes. Be blessed.
Hello, I'm Duke Heller, host of the May I Share Ministries podcast, and with me is Tom Aakhus. We're so glad to have him. He's the co-host, and we have the privilege of talking with our guest today, Sam Koon, who is going to be sharing with us about Prime Movers. So this podcast is geared to help men find ministries in the middle of America that will enable them to finish well. And it kind of coincides with a book that's on the site to help men finish better. So let's start. Oh, he's looking at it. Isn't that neat? My co-host is looking at it. That's great.
Yeah, I'm on a mission to help me finish well. And at my age, I'm on the winner side.
Oh, that's great. Well, Sam, thanks for coming to be with us, brother.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you've been such a good friend and supporter. I thank you. So tell us, could you, Sam, what is Prime Movers?
Prime Movers is a ministry of Living on the Edge. Living on the Edge is a nonprofit that was founded by Chip Ingram. His church actually birthed it. It was very small. It's a radio ministry, international at this point, publishing house. Chip has written probably a couple of dozen books, maybe more. And Prime Movers is a piece of that. Mm-hmm. Prime Movers was a dream of Chip's about 30 years ago. He was probably in his early 40s at the time. Went to a halftime event. Halftime is a ministry of Bob Buford. Now, Bob has gone to be with the Lord. Mm-hmm. Chip went down. It's a 48-hour experience, and the purpose of that ministry is to help the participants understand themselves and to get some coaching and to be better at what they do. Chip attended that event. Coming out of his 48 hours, he, on one piece of paper, had the skeleton for Prime Movers. And he shared it with Bob Buford. Buford liked it so much, he funded the curriculum writing to the tune of $500,000. And Chip, at the time, was in Atlanta. He was president of Walk Through the Bible. And he had the first Prime Movers group in Atlanta. And it just so happens, and I'll back up even more, Chip is a Columbus guy. He grew up in Gahanna, yes. Played basketball. He went to
Gahanna-Lincoln.
Yeah, Gahanna-Lincoln. He then went on down to West Virginia, played ball with athletes in action. I mean, he was a good athlete. He was a senior, and his sophomore teammate, Phil Schaefer, big guy, probably 6'4", and I've heard Chip tell this story from the pulpit. He said, yeah, I made the decision. We had the game on the line. I threw the ball to Phil, and he missed the shot. He said, I should have taken the shot. Anyway, Phil and Chip were friends in high school. They went separate ways, and Phil hears Chip on the radio, and he says, is it possible that could be the same guy? So he reached out to him. They connected, and Phil was invited by Chip to the first Prime Movers event in Atlanta. Those men got together and said, Chip, we've got to make this ministry more readily available to the church and to the general public. So Phil puts together two groups in Columbus, and I was invited to be one of those 12 men by a friend of mine with whom I had founded a Bible study in North Bexley just to pray for our kids. So all of these dots, you connect them and see God is working. Chip is speaking on Matthew 25:14-30 in Phil's living room. I'm 10 feet from him. The camera's whirling over my right shoulder. They're putting together the whatever mode. We probably had CDs at the time, whatever it was, they were filming it. And he says, someday all of us are going to stand before the bema seat of God. And the question is going to be asked, what did you do with what I gave you?
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost as if he were speaking to me, and he wasn't. But I heard in Sam, when Jesus says, what did you do with X? You don't want the answer to be, wow, Jesus, I didn't know you gave me X. I didn't hear anything they said the rest of the 2 days. That was the beginning of my Prime Movers journey. Prime Movers is an intense discipleship program where a group of 4 to 6 men come together over a 24-month period. We have 11 meetings. We meet for 6 months in a row, once a month. Then we meet 90 days, 180, and 180. So it's 11 meetings, 24 months. And the groups bond around, and this is incredible to watch this happen. You've got 5 or 6 pretty high capacity men meeting around a table, and they're all trying to solve the same problem. What is the answer to the question, Tom, what is your Ephesians 2:10 preordained God's purpose? The 3 big questions of life. Who am I? Why am I here? Therefore, how shall I live? The consulting that goes on around that table would cost you several $1,000s an hour. And yet we come together, it's a 3-hour session once a month, and we talk about the reading that we've done. There are probably 7 or 8 books. The writing that we do, each of us is the CEO of YOU, and you lead yourself best by writing. That's one of the principles that I instill in the men. I challenge them to write. We take a strengths finder test. We take a spiritual gifts test. We talk about our life experience. Probably the most important writing that happens is my life story. Who am I? We spend about 4 months on. Then we start talking about why am I here? And then, therefore, what shall I do? And you can imagine it's a hard habit to break, because what happens the first time, it doesn't make any difference if you're at the office, if you're at church, whatever you're doing. What's the first question that everybody wants to answer? What should we do?
Mm-hmm.
What should we do? Well, why are we here? Yeah, a whole new perspective. So there is a retraining of the mind. Most prime movers are men who are in the, I shouldn't say men, it's men and women. I just happen to be on the men's side of the house. Generally, somewhere in midlife, and that's why it's so important, I think, Duke, when we talk about helping men finish strong. Why am I here? In the middle of life, you've had your head down for 25 years, just swinging every day to keep your nose above the waterline, to get your kids to a point where they're independent. You've gotten them through college. Hopefully they're gainfully employed, and you're 53 years old and you say, wow, I'm at the peak of my career. I'm at my maximum earning capacity or pretty close to it. And I got a lot of energy left. God, what do you want me to do? I've got a lot of gas left in the tank. And that's what Prime Movers is all about. It's men coming together to solve a common problem. We don't fix each other, but we certainly do help. That's Prime Movers in a nutshell. We do have women's programs there. I'm just a facilitator. I volunteer my time. I've got, I think, 30 groups now that I've done. It's been 13, 14 years I've been doing this, and it's just been a joy to watch men accelerate with passion into their God-given purpose.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, I remember, Sam, the first time I took Prime Movers, you and I joke, I was such a slow learner, I had to do it twice. But in reality, Zig Ziglar had encouraged me to write a book, How to Start a Kingdom Conversation. And I remember one of the first questions, what is your holy ambition? And after reading Chip's book, I really spent a lot of hours with direction from the group of having a holy ambition. and mine became helping Christians share Jesus Christ in a non-threatening way. And I'm forever grateful you were able to take that and put it down in writing for me to look at it and then to live it. And so Holy Ambition was big to me. What was the,
I was in Sam's second class. Your first class. It was the second class here in Columbus that Dave Durrell had told me I needed to look at something and check it out. So Phil Schaefer, he came in and you facilitated it. I'm so forever grateful because Wally Martinson said, I asked him about, doing something like this. I said, because I've really, at 50, I made my transition to go all in and searching and looking. And I was going to grad school when I should have gone to elementary school and all these things that were you and others at that core community group were facilitating. So I went through that kind of to backfill, but it ended up being front fill. And you inspired many people through that I've talked to. I am doing today as a direct result of that 13 years ago, that experience. And that's for another time. But I'm forever grateful to
But God did not call you to Africa. Your skills earned over many years in the insurance business have been turned into a ministry where you are helping people prepare for strategic gifting at the end of life and preparing wills and so forth to help a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I think, Tom, that's a great example of I take what God has given me, what I've got in my tool belt, and I've repurposed it, and I'm doing something different with it. It's
absolutely. I can look at all the different things I did, and it was all preparation for doing this.
Yeah.
And being able to do it with patience, which I'm not a patient person by nature. But this has taught me to be patient, understanding, have a little wisdom, had some experience in real estate, finance, all the things that come up in these conversations, and looking at a family like mine that did things right and wrong, and just coaching them. Because I'm not an attorney, I don't give advice, but I tell a lot of stories. And so the pivoted point to do this was one time, and Duke said to me, Tom, what are you doing? And he challenged me not to be a private, but be a general, and use what God gave you that you did for your family and use it for him. And that was the best pivotal time for me to really go in and do what I'm doing. And you know what? They asked me when I'm going to finish doing this because I should get a successor. I said, well, when am I going to die?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine not doing what I'm doing because it's so helpful to people.
Yeah.
And that's such a reward to get them there. We call it get spiritual before mechanical, get their house in order.
Yeah, Duke, let me, if it's okay, walk you through my personal prime movers experience, because you've been through twice.
Yes, sir, I have.
I've been through 30 times.
Yes, that's right.
I'm the real remedial guy.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about it is God carves on me and sands me and molds me just a little more every time. My mission statement, which is my why, is to glorify God by helping people solve problems. That hasn't changed. Through the Prime Movers process, I was able to understand my gifting, my strengths, and to sit back and say, why do I respond to people? Why do I speak the way I speak? Why do I respond emotionally the way I do? And it was my Prime Movers group that helped me to understand that my primary spiritual gift, that lens through which I view life, is helps. That's where I came up with that. And then I'm going to steal this from Duke and not pay him a royalty, but I am in ministry full time. I just get to do it in the real estate business, and I help people solve problems. It was during my Prime Movers process or shortly thereafter that I penned the mission statement for my company. The right answer to the right problem for the right reason in the right way. We are not order takers. We ask why and provide the most cost-effective solution to your problem. I glorify God in the real estate business by helping people solve problems. My holy ambition then, which is my what I am going to do, is to to usher 250 serious students into an understanding of their Ephesians 2:10 purpose. That is my holy ambition. And then my how, 3 verbs, which we come up with in Prime Movers. I'm going to invest in them. I am going to give myself away, and I am going to disciple them. Those are my 3 verbs. And then the context, which is the where, I am going to do it one-on-one. I am going to do it small groups, and I'm going to do it in Prime Movers. Clarity regarding that. That was 12 years of hard work that I just spit out in the last 18 or last minute and a half. It takes a long time. Prime Movers, this concept of understanding the 3 big questions of life, it's like water going through sand. It's not fast. So we spend a lot of time. There are forward, backward, 2 steps forward, 1 backward. But generally speaking, when the light bulb comes on, somebody accelerates into what it is that God's got them. I love discipling men. The best time of my week, Sunday morning, 6 a.m., I've got a young man, 39, and we just hit 5 years.
That's great.
This last Sunday. And that's how I know I'm doing what God wants me to do, is that time flies.
Yes.
You had a
I was
question.
going to say, I knew you before you started doing Prime Movers, and you had it going on then. I mean, you were one of the men in the group at Core Community that was looked to. You brought a lot to the table. When did you come to Christ? When were you duped?
Tom, I asked Christ into my life when I was 10. So 1965, a Sunday night, Gardenside Baptist Church, Lexington, Kentucky.
And who was one of your most influential people that you looked to, that you got a lot of your faith from?
My personal Mount Rushmore, and that's what I call it, has about 8 or 9 faces on it. People who have inspired me, people who have influenced my life, my thinking. One of the early ones, my dad almost died when I was 11. And this is the important writing of my story. I don't remember a day when I wasn't responsible for somebody else. This deacon, Bob Parsley, has gone to be with the Lord, would pick me up, take me to play basketball. My dad, today it would be outpatient, almost died. Took him a couple of years to recover. By the time I was 9th grade before he really became himself again. And our relationship changed. He was still my dad. I was his son, but I was on top of the ladder and he was holding the bottom, if you understand what I'm saying. So that experience has formed me. But Bob Parsley was a salesman for Virginia Homes. He had 5 models, and I got to cut the grass. Had my first job. That was my first business. And he encouraged me to get my real estate license, which I did when I was 19. So I started selling houses when I was in college. Realized that I didn't want to sell houses, and I was getting a degree in real estate and finance from Ohio State. Graduated when I was 20. And his influence as a godly man early in my life, influencing me, has impacted me significantly. And, Tom, there are others. I mean, T.W. Hunt, but just as close as anything that my denomination has ever had to a mystic. Met him about 5 times. Chip has been a great mentor. There's a guy named David Chessis who just taught me things that my dad didn't even know about. I had a friend, 20 years older than me, this was my wedding, taught me how to read the stock page. I mean, there were a lot of people who influenced me. The interesting thing, as I continue to look inside myself and understand who I am, the concept of never being able to remember a time when I wasn't responsible for somebody else leads to a self-limiting belief. And we all have them. Mm-hmm. If you'll dig deeply enough, you'll understand you've got a self-limiting belief. Well, here's mine. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. That went together for me during a prime mover session where I believe it was Holy Spirit breathed. Sam, you've got this problem. The reason you've got it is because you've been having to make things happen since you were 11. I had a Down syndrome sister. I had a mom. And I had a dad who was gone in a lot of ways. So I tend to give God the Heisman. Mm-hmm. I got this. Those are the types of things we do in prime movers. I mean, getting through and fighting through some of those things and understanding that we are all given, most prime movers are given power, position, wealth, education. I got a Rolodex. I mean, the kids don't even know what that is anymore, but I know a lot of people in this town, and you call me and say, Sam, I need help. I'm on the phone. My preloaded response, and I really have to work on this, needs to be to look up, not to grab for my Rolodex or to start giving you advice about what you should be doing, but is to say, God, I need you. Mm-hmm. God, I need you. One of Chip's mentors wrote a book called Developing the Leader's Heart. And he says you will spend the rest of your life doing what you cannot do with what you do not have. Mm. Just like the disciples standing in front of 5,000 men and who knows how many women and children. And Jesus, you better tell these people to go eat. I bet send them home. It's a long walk away. And Jesus says, no, let's feed them. Well, how do you expect us to do that? And he said, you do it. Mm-hmm. What he was doing was demonstrating to them the need that they have. And so that's one of the biggest things I've gotten out of prime movers. I think of, Duke, this concept of helping men finish well, understanding who they are in Christ. Their identity is as a son of God. I've been grafted into the vine. God loves me. He wants to involve me in kingdom work. He doesn't need me. I bring nothing to the table. Having assurance of that identity and then being able to understand what is it that he's given you. You're a tool in whose tool belt. Who are you that he wants to pull out to do some kingdom work? I mean, why did he want me to lead prime movers in the central Ohio area? I don't know. What I know is I get a lot of joy watching men come to grips with who God has wired them to be, and then accelerating into their strengths instead of working on their weaknesses.
How about the relationships that are built with those folks that go through it together?
Tom, there is a bonding that happens. Each group has got its own personality. I love them all in different ways. I've got one group that had 5 CEOs in it, and these guys still socialize, and they'll invite me to come to, we even went to New York City together with our wives. But the bonding that occurs is just incredible. But here's what happens. It's so interesting. Men, do you know how many friends the average man has?
I know the answer.
You do.
Rue told us.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0.7.
It's 0.8.
0.8.
And, you know, I stole that, but, you know, I steal everything. There's
Yeah.
nothing original. Yeah. And so you get a bunch of guys together, 5 or 6. They don't know each other. And within the first 26 hours, we have the kickoff event. Guys, every time I've got somebody in tears. It just happens. They get vulnerable in a hurry. And I'll tell you, the question that really brings that to the table is, tell me about your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Write a paragraph about your dad. And I'm telling you, and the reason I do it not only to help them get vulnerable and to bond, but I also recognize the fact that their relationship with God is going to be directly dependent on and influenced by the relationship they had with their earthly father. And we work on that. We talk about it. We talk about it openly. So, Tom, it's absolutely the relationship that forms in the group is just incredible.
There's another thing that Duke talks about, and that's accountability. Do you have an accountability partner, and what's that look like to you?
I do not have an accountability partner. Where in the sense, you know, I've been around Duke enough. I know he's got a set of questions. I do have a group of men on Saturday morning who've been meeting, I think, 32 years now in my garage. And we're close. And we can talk. We don't ask each other the same questions. But these are men who have been together enough that they can throw punches at each other.
That's kind of the question I was really asking was, who do you go to today? I mean, you're pouring out to many men and you're helping them, but who helps you, Sam?
Probably my closest confidant is Greg, the young man. He's 39, who I spend an hour with every Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
My COVID buddy.
Mm-hmm.
We started in January of 2020. Meeting at Dunkin' Donuts, and we met for 7 or 8 weeks, and then we had to go home when the governor shut the state down. And we've been on FaceTime ever since. So we have walked through some incredible things together. I've just been able to pour my heart out to him. And it comes back the other way.
So what do you do other than your work and your family? What other connections do you have, and where do you spend your time? If men were looking to reach out to explore pre-retirement, you know, we talk about this rehirement, and you got to prepare for that before you finish what you're doing in your career. You can't just stop and then start. It seems that most people ease into it, start looking ahead. What is it that they can do to continue on after they stop making earned living?
Tom, I think everybody's different. I mean, I'm a market research guy. I mean, that's what I do for a living. I'm in the real estate business. I get paid to gather information, process it, put it on paper, and sell it. We just call it an appraisal. I've also got a brokerage company. I've got a development company. We think of ourselves as one shop stop. I'm going to solve your problem. But as I look at the men with whom I walk and have enough interaction with that I can answer that question, I'm not sure that there is any hard and fast answer. I've got a guy in my Saturday morning group, CEO of a credit union, age 62, walked away. And we were all saying, oh my goodness, he doesn't have a plan. He has not missed a beat. Playing pickleball, cutting grass, ministering here, doing this. There are other people that have retired without a plan and they go into depression. I believe the redeployment, the rehirement, whatever you want to call it, I look at what you're doing as I can do this until Schrodinger shows up. I think that it's as individual as the person. I love what I do, and I'm still working 50-hour weeks. And the only reason that I'm even thinking about getting out of the way, because my little business has 15 families that are eating out of it. And if I don't show up, I mean, I'm actively trying to figure out a way to make sure that they can take care of things. But I think an understanding of the fact that you are not what you do. Your identity is not being a dentist or an oral surgeon or a life insurance guy or a real estate guy. That's not our identity. Duke has impressed me with this time and time again over the years, and that I am in ministry full time. I just do it in the real estate business. So I hope I've got your question answered there, but I really think that a lot of it depends on the extent to which you can continue to be a minister in the field you're in. It's easy for me because I own my business. If I worked for somebody else and I wanted to back off to 25 hours and spend the rest of the time facilitating prime movers, they might not be real happy about it. So I think it's individual.
That's it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Who you're serving. And I guess that's really the question for those that don't know. It's something to search and find, because if you love what you're doing, you're serving the Lord, then that's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I have had several men come into prime movers in anticipation of retirement, thinking
I
that
believe that.
it's going to give them a mechanism by which they can get ready for retirement. And generally speaking, they think it's going to happen more quickly than it does. I would love to have a guy at 60 getting ready for retirement at 65 to 67, not somebody who's 64 saying, I got a year and I've got to figure out a plan. It's just hard to unpack all of this, especially when you've got 50 years of life to look back on, 40 years of employment, 40 years of marriage, 30 years of raising kids.
Right.
Pulling all of that together and all of the hardships that you've gone through and the dents and the dings that are a result of life.
Yeah, that reminds me of the mission increase, the PEO model. As we go through life and we're busy and we're doing all that, the P is for participate, which you participate in a lot. And then you engage in a fewer things before you take the ownership of whatever that is. And you may never find it, but the hope is that you're looking and that you're participating and you're engaging. And so I just, when we talk about finishing well, you got to have a purpose. As you get older, you find out if you don't have a purpose to get up in the morning, it's pretty depressing.
Yeah. Well, prime movers was such an important part of my decision making. As you know, Sam, for years, I helped start in 8 different dental schools, the dental implantology. And I used to always start it out saying, I'm in full-time ministry. I just do it as a dentist. And I know you've picked up on that. But that led so many areas of my life to share Jesus, because I was good at what I did. I took so much pleasure in teaching the right things to do it the right way. I used to say that talent is a gift, integrity and character is a choice. So I would tell doctors, and it was of interest at some of the universities, the deans would be there, and I would look at them and say, doctors, when you cut the tissue and you pull it back, you put the implant in, and now you put it back together, if you think your skill level is going to make that close, you're a fool. Only God can heal it. I inserted the name God in everything that I did. And having the opportunity in the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait. But prime movers helped me realize, Duke, if that's your holy ambition, teaching Christians how to share Jesus Christ in a non-threatening way, then do it. Do it often. And I would say, Sam, that part of this second book, the reason I went through it twice, God kind of laid it on my heart. I had so many colleagues that didn't finish well. As an example, one man who was a dentist asked if we could go to lunch, and we didn't. All of a sudden, he just started crying. He said, "Duke, how could I get it so wrong?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying." He said, "Well, I was a very successful dentist, as you know, and this man used to refer patients to me for dental implants. And he retired. I had 12 or 15 years in Florida. His kids and grandkids would go see him 1 week in the winter. He'd come up here 2 weeks. And the reason he's crying, Sam, he said, "Duke, my wife's health has failed, so I got to come back to my support base. My grandson, I never saw him play basketball. He's getting married in 3 weeks. I've never met his fiance. How could I get it so wrong?" So I just know that Prime Movers channels men. Give us a story of one that you think is one of the most successful things that's happened. One or two of good stories about how Prime Movers has helped people, especially men.
I tell you what, one of my favorite stories is Luke Walker, Luke's Auto. Luke was 17, going to a suburban high school where 98% of the kids go into a pre-college routine. Luke tried to commit suicide, direct result of his not feeling worthy. He was mentored weekly by the senior pastor of his church. Through that process, he began to understand that he was wired to work with his hands. So he became a mechanic. Luke, through the Prime Movers process, dreamed this big dream. I think God planted it in his heart. But Luke dreams this big dream about writing curriculum to help the kids in the bottoms at Youth for Christ begin to work on cars, to teach them a skill that then makes them marketable. He begins to work in the bottoms. The dream gets bigger through the Prime Movers process. He raises, I think it was $700,000, renovates a 10,000 square foot portion of a building up on Oakland Park, and starts this school where these kids can work. He's got a donation arm where you've got an old car that's barely running, you donate it, you get a write-off, the kids fix it, sell it, the kids get a piece of the profit. So he is teaching them. Then he goes a little further and he says, I want to take 200 kids a year through this program, and I want 40 of them to move on then and get certified and be able to work at a dealership. And he's got the dealers donating to pay. I mean, and then last but not least, he says, I want to have a Luke's Auto on all four sides of the city or whatever. God, I want to be the Chick-fil-A of fair automobile repair. I love sending people there because they're going to hear the truth about their car.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. Another story in two different groups. I've got Mark Greaves, who was an All-American volleyball player at Ohio State, hurt his back, goes into the mortgage lending business, is president of one of the online mortgage banking operations, quits because he doesn't like the money focus. Any major corporation, you take care of the shareholder, you drive money to the bottom line. He founds Tithe Lending.
Mm-hmm.
But he forms a 501c3 adjacent to it, and the profits coming out of Tithe Lending fund Tithe Foundation. He goes into Prime Movers, and he dreams about having this organization, the foundation organization, which can bring other businesses in. So now And my business is one of the members. We get together once a quarter and give away money. Last quarter, we gave $80,000 to 3 nonprofits. Well, Mark is, he's 6'3". He's just a great looking guy. He can charm a snake out of a basket with a microphone. He's just he's a CEO kind of guy. But he's got this heart for ministry. I've got another Prime Movers group, and I've got this guy who is a financial analyst. He works at a private equity firm. He's one of 600 employees, only one in the state of Ohio. So he flies to New York a couple of times a month, and he's in the insurance business in some way, shape, or form. They're buying brokerages or something, and he does the analysis to decide what they're going to buy, whether they're keeping up with what they're supposed to be doing and so forth. And he's in my Prime Movers group. I said, what do you do for a living? He said, well, I sell spreadsheets and I do this. I said, oh, somebody's got to do it. And so my wheels start turning. I've got Greaves who can charm the snake out of the basket. And I've got Matt who all day long looks at spreadsheets, talks to people. Why are your numbers? I said, you guys ought to know each other. They get together for lunch. And frankly, Matt was struggling with what his holy ambition was. And he calls me, he says, hey, Sam, is there any reason you can think of that I should not be working with Mark Greaves at Tithe Foundation? I said, absolutely none. And so these two guys are having a ball. Neither one of them takes a dime out of the foundation. It's their avocation. And it's just wonderful watching.
What a great
Mark's
story.
been an emerging leader.
Yes.
The next generation. It's a delight to see.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Well, if somebody wants to get involved in Prime Movers, and of course, we'll make the information known to our audience, how would you suggest they get involved? Where do you get most of your referrals?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
I must tell you, a decade ago, I thought the market for Prime Movers men in Columbus, I thought the pond would be fished dry. And God just continues. And the amazing thing is the way he puts these groups together. I don't pursue people. I meet with them. I'll tell them what the program's about, but God calls them. I've had maybe 4 or 5 guys that have really bombed out or they didn't belong. They weren't spiritually ready. But by and large, it's just been wonderful. And somebody who is hungry. We talk about how do you know who you want to disciple? You'll remember my holy ambition statement was to usher 250 serious men into an understanding. Yes. That's my calling. And so these guys, they're writing a check to join this group. They're serious. They want to understand. And the men who are good candidates are faithful, available, teachable. They're fat. And if they want to be involved, I would say they certainly can call me. 614-296-3331 is my cell phone number. I'll answer it anytime, night or day, as long as I'm able. Email me, skoon, Koon, Skoon at samuelkoon.com. You can make that available. But really, the person behind the scenes who makes this all happen, you guys know this, is Sandra Bash down in Florida, who was in Columbus, a Prime Movers graduate herself. She's 3 steps ahead of me, and she will take care of these guys. All the stuff is online. You buy your packet and get reading.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a Bible study group that there's 3 alumni in, and there's 8 of us. So
yeah,
we just keep, it takes 2 or 3 people to suggest it,
yes.
It seems, before they say, oh, I think I better check it out. So as an alumnus, if you're out there, keep dripping on people because eventually they'll hear from 3 people.
Right.
Tom, when did you first think maybe that there was purpose for your being on earth?
I think at age 50.
50.
Yeah.
Duke, how about you?
I would say, of course, as you know, I came to the Lord, I was 35. But Sam, after I accepted Christ, I really got vaccinated. I knew that that was truth. And when I accepted Christ, I wanted to share it with everybody. Then God put me in a position as in dentistry. There were about 12 of us in the 60s in the United States that were doing dental implants. And once I accepted Christ, I knew the dental schools didn't know anything about dental implants. So I would go to the deans and say, your faculty doesn't know about this. So I would say, Sam, probably at age 40, I said, okay, Duke, if this is the gift God's given you, and he had given me some good hands to do surgery, and I could teach it. And I had a standard. If you didn't keep that standard, Sam, I wouldn't teach it. As an example, a smoker is so detrimental to dental implants. So I just said, I won't work on smokers. Well, people said, you'll starve to death. I said, nope, I won't. And I didn't. And all the 1,500 docs that I had the privilege of training, when they train with me for usually 2 years, they come 4 days a month for at least 12 months. And then after that, special cases, you could not bring a smoker. We wouldn't do it. And 3 of the dental schools are in the cigarette belt, of Missouri and Kentucky and Puerto Rico. Everybody in Puerto Rico smokes. They said, well, you can't do a program there. And I said, oh, yeah, you can. So the fact, I guess, of knowing God had called me, I would say it's probably 40, 42. And I had such a wonderful wife, Sam, that allowed me to do that. Because the mentoring that God gave me with Zig Ziglar, he assured me, don't do anything without your wife's full compliance. If you will do that, God will give you a ministry so big only he can finish it. So
I don't think we're that unusual. I was 55 sitting in Phil Schaefer's living room when Chip introduced me to that. And it's a little embarrassing to say because I've been in church my whole life. But the focus has always been on what?
mm-hmm.
And that's what I want for every employee of mine. I want for every man is to understand God's purpose for him and to watch passion flow out of that. Because you can spend your life, and when we talk about finishing well, you're 40, you're 50, I'm 55, all of a sudden, why am I here? Could you imagine if we could get college kids who know Christ as they begin to select classes and decide on a avenue of study, a field of study? How beneficial it would be for the kingdom if they could come to understand their purpose. Well, that's what I want for guys when they're finishing well, is to do it with passion in purpose.
Yes.
And I think it just goes hand in hand with your book and what, frankly, Duke, you have modeled. Thank you.
Yes. You are welcome.
Yes.
That you're kind to say that. Well, men, did you have anything else you want to bring up about prime movers?
No, it's incredible.
It is.
Program. And Sam, I hope you keep doing it for a while more.
Yeah.
But make sure you bring along somebody else.
I've got 2 facilitators trained right now.
Good.
I've co-facilitated 2 groups with somebody, and then Greg, the guy that I meet with on Sunday mornings. I think he's going to be an
such a
incredible
wonderful
facilitator.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate that Tom has agreed to take over for me. And so we hope that you've truly enjoyed this podcast with Sam Koon. He's a man of integrity, and you could sense his sincerity as he talked. So, men, if you've clicked on this podcast to learn how to have God direct you on finishing better, make sure you look deep into prime movers, because this will change your life. And remember, 2 Corinthians 5:10 tells us we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ to be recompensed for the deeds in the body, whether good or bad. We're not talking about being evil or good per se in these podcasts. We're talking about what are you doing so that God's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant. So hopefully this is one area that you men will check out, because we're all going to stand there. And as Sam started off, what did you do with what I gave you when God asked us that question? So you make a good day. God bless you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the May I Share podcast. If today's conversation stirred something in you, don't let it stop here. Check the show notes to learn more about our guest and how you can get involved. If this podcast has been a blessing to you, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, remember, you are blessed to be a blessing.